She gonna get him for sure. He know. He does it on purpose.
My other lip gonna be
I see it's going down. Now you want to see if you can swell it up for you again. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. So we were doing the story of the prophets, right? In that book, and I told you I wanted to discontinue it and just talk about prophets amongst you all without going through all of those books, all of those chapters about it. Because I was reading the next one. One of them has to do with a town called Arez, and another one that's mentioned in the Surah Yasin of people who were destroyed by Allah for disobeying Allah, right? But there's no prophet that is mentioned there. So I thought that was kind of important to talk about, but I also looked, the next prophet that was in the line that they were referring to was Yunus, Jonah. And that's who Yunus is. Let me make sure I put that on here. Yunus is the prophet Jonah. I was thinking in my mind just now how many brothers I know named Yunus. I think I know one, maybe. I do know one. I think I know maybe another one, but not many people named Yunus. I don't know why that is. I started thinking about the different people. I know people who are named after characteristics of the prophet, of Allah, but not name certain things like Lut or Lot, Hud. I know one Sully. I don't really know a lot of people named Noah, to be honest with you. That's African American, I mean. Right. You may see somebody online or what have you, but not people that I've met in the community with those names. And it was just something, I don't know why that's the case. It was just running through my mind because I started thinking about Allah put the importance of listing those prophets in the Quran. And that was the reason we were going over it and discussing it, is because prophets that we know from having a Christian background or having a Christian family, we know Moses, we know Abraham, we know David, we know Solomon, and we definitely know about Jesus. I'm not sure if everybody knows about Yahya, John the Baptist, that he is a prophet of Al-Islam, mentioned explicitly in the Quran as well. But I thought it's important to know and enunciate and pronounce just how Allah talks about them in the Quran. And this time I wanted to talk about Jonah, which is Yunus in the Quran. And I would recommend, and I don't do this very often, I recommend we read the book of Jonah. You can read it in probably 20 minutes. It's only 4 chapters. And it is very, very, very close to the story in the Quran. The story in the Quran is mentioned in about 5 different places. Well, about Yunus or Jonah is mentioned in 5 different places. Only 2 of them talk explicitly about his life. The rest of them mention him in the listing of other prophets and messengers. So Allah doesn't talk explicitly about him in the same way he does with Moses or Jesus or Yusuf. But you can gather together what is mentioned in the Quran about him, and it's very, very similar to what is in the book of Jonah. There are some differences, however, because Allah always is making distinctions, because the Quran is the Furqan, because it is the criteria, and because it is the Muhaymin. It is the quality control which determines what's true and what's false in other scriptures. The reason story about Jonah, Yunus is so unique is that the other prophets that we mentioned so far, Prophet Sully, the Prophet Lot, the Prophet Noah, the Prophet Hud, what's the common theme between those prophets, if you can remember, that we've been talking about up till now? If you could just think about one of them, think about Lot, think about Noah. What happened in their story? It's a common theme. They were all ridiculed. And what happened then? They were ridiculed by whom?
Non-believers.
Well, non-believers who were their people, right? And what happened to their people?
They perished.
They got destroyed, right? All of this is a running theme that's happening with Lot, with Noah, with Sully, with Hud, is that they gave the clear message, and then the people did not accept the clear message. They tried to kill them, and ultimately Allah punished them and destroyed the disbelievers and saved the believers. Interestingly enough, the story of Yunus is the exact opposite. He has a very short story, and he's one of the most successful prophets. But he initially started when Allah gave him the revelation to go to the people of Nineveh. This is the people that he went to. They're called Ninevites. He went to the city of Nineveh. Prophet said, Allah told him to go to those people and deliver the message because they were sinful people. He didn't want to go to them. He thought they were too sinful. He went in a different direction from Allah. When Allah told him to go this way, he went that way. They say in the Bible, the city they went to is called Tarish, I think it is. It's not really important, but he went to a different place. Instead of going to Nineveh, he went to a different direction. And it mentions that in the Bible and in the Quran that he was angry with those people because of their sinfulness. He had the impression that they can't be saved. Now, what I would like for all of us to do, especially when we read these stories about the prophets or anything in the Quran, is realize that Allah is talking to us. We should put ourselves in the shoes of these prophets. There are some people right now we think cannot be saved, right? It's like, there ain't no need to go talk to them, right? Nothing I say is gonna get through to them, right? Don't we feel this way? I know I feel this way, right? And repeatedly, Allah shows me that that's not true. He said, listen, I make Muslims, not you. So what you think don't really matter. At least deliver the message to them, right? And then you'll find out. Some people will be destroyed, right? They won't believe, but the story of Yunus, of Jonah, proves that no matter a prophet believed that these people can't be saved. And he said, you know what? I know Allah told me to go there. I ain't going there. So he goes to his other place called Tarish, and he gets on the boat. And again, this same story is in the Quran, it's in the Bible. I'll tell you what the caveat, what the differences are after I finish the story, because it's a super short story. He gets on the boat, and a storm, he's on the boat with other people, and these other people, according to the Bible, are disbelievers. They believe in multiple gods, right? So he's on the boat, and in the boat, the storm comes, and they're afraid that the boat is going to capsize from this storm because it's such a huge storm. So all of them start individually praying to their gods, right? Like, somebody, whichever God I believe in, please come stop this before we all die. Now he is calm. He goes to the bottom of the boat and go to sleep, right? And then they say, what you doing down here asleep? Like, we all praying to our God. You pray to your God too. I know you believe in the oneness of God. You pray to your God, we're going to pray to our God. So one of them is the right God. He going to stop this, right? So they bring him up to the shore. And what they do is cast lots. So they want to determine which person on this boat is the person that is causing this boat to almost capsize and this storm to happen. Because they're thinking, God is punishing somebody on this boat. We got to figure out who it is. So they did what they call casting lots. So it's something like maybe having different everybody's name on there, and they came to the conclusion that he was the one that God was mad at, right? So he says also, though, he tells them, yeah, I'm the one. I know God told me to go this way, and I went this way. I know, yeah, it was me, right? So he says, y'all can go ahead and throw me off the side of this boat. And they do. But the storm is still raging, and they're a little bit scared, like, oh my God, did we kill an innocent person? But eventually it subsides, but while he's thrown into the water, a large whale or a large fish, a whale I would say, swallow him. And while the whale swallows him, he's inside of the whale praying to Allah. He says, there is no God but you. You're the only one worthy of worship, and I have wronged myself by not doing what you told me to do. Allah forgave him, because it says in the Quran explicitly that he wronged himself. Allah forgave him, and the whale spit him out on the shore, and they said he had sickness as well. He was weak and sick inside of this whale. When the whale let him out, he was forgiven. He went to the city of Nineveh, and they said they had a king there. No, he went to the city of Nineveh and said, listen, y'all are crazy, sinful people here. You're doing all kinds of wickedness and wrongness. God sent me to tell y'all this y'all last chance. You need to repent to Allah, forgive each other, and ask for forgiveness from Allah, and he will forgive you, and he won't bring this punishment on you. Because he had already told them, God going to send a punishment. So they repented. The king, all the people, everybody repented, and God forgave them, and they did not get destroyed. And that's the story of Jonah and the people of Nineveh, right? Interestingly enough, this story, the reason I wrote down Gilgamesh, Jason, and I don't know how to pronounce this name, is the same way the story of Noah is told throughout antiquity in different regions of the world. The same story is told about Jonah with different names. So some people said the same story of Gilgamesh is in, I think it was the Sumerians. Jason is from the Greek mythology. And this person's name is from the Buddhist mythology and Hindu mythology, right? But they told the same story of a prophet that went to the people. Well, first he was supposed to go to the people and he got swallowed. God saved him, and he went back and all the people listened. So I said that to say, some people see that as a mythology, but what it really means is that the story is true, but it's told by different people, and they put their own person in that place. You can see the same thing is true with Jesus. If you go to some Asian churches, they have an Asian-looking Jesus and Asian-looking disciples, right? But the story of Jesus still is true. It's just they put their own spin on it. They say, well, this is what I think Jonah's name was. But Allah is saying, that's why Allah says this is the criteria and the muhaymin for everything. Like, this is the truth. I know you said it was Jason, you said it was Gilgamesh, you said it was this person. No, it was Jonah, right? I know you tried to put your guy's name on it, but that's not true. It was Jonah, right? The same thing, his name was Noah. It wasn't somebody else. So that's the reason I put that down there. It really adds to the validity of the story, and then that Allah is just saying this is the true story, and this is the true person's name that it occurred upon. Because in antiquity, they also used to put their name on books that they didn't write. So if a famous person, let's say, okay, Paul, after Jesus, he was the most famous person, the most famous Christian. The book of Hebrews in the Bible is attributed to him, but he probably didn't write it. But whoever wrote it said, well, everybody loved Paul. I'm going to say Paul wrote it, right? So the same thing with these stories is they put it, they use the story and then put it in another place. They basically plagiarize it and put another person's name. So Allah is correcting them. So really that's the story of it, right? But the difference is this. In the Quran, in the Bible, there's always some difference that Allah is pointing to. Now, if you read that version in the Bible, I told you it's 4 chapters. Literally, you can probably read it in 20 minutes. It says, after the people of Nineveh accepted God and repented, Jonah was mad. Said Jonah was mad at God. He was like, I knew you was repenting anyway. Like, basically, why you put me through all of that? This is what the Bible says, that he was still upset with God after this. And that God, he went to some shelter, and then God put a plant to grow over top of it, and then a worm ate the plant. And then God showed him how he should be more appreciative of what God gives him. Now, Allah in the Quran says he did provide provisions for Jonah after this, and after they accepted Allah and repented. But Allah says he gave provisions to all of the people of Nineveh for their acceptance of the deen and accepting him. So it was not that he was upset with Allah at all. He was initially upset with the people because he thought they would never change, but never upset with Allah. So again, even in this short story, Allah is still correcting something by his omission of saying that no. He wasn't. Why would the prophet be mad at Allah, especially after Allah saved him? Allah is showing him, you should have been listening to me the whole time. You wouldn't have been swallowed if you'd have did what I told you. Right? And then you see what you did. You went there and changed a whole people who are about to be destroyed. So again, this Quran is the truth. I mean, when you juxtapose those two and you give them to any unbiased person, even to a Christian or Jewish person, you say, which one sounds more likely to be true? That a prophet of God is still upset with God? Or that he isn't? Allah saves him. Why would he be upset with him? And Allah saves all this people. Why would he be upset with him? right? So it's pretty interesting, right? So since since Jonah's story is so short, I had two other things that I want to add to it that come from prophets that you and I all know. Something that has to do with Jesus and something has to do with Muhammad the prophet. One of them is this man named Addis, and then the other one is the son of Jonah, is what I'm going to end this with. So we all know about the prophet when his uncle Abu Talib died. When his uncle Abu Talib died, he lost protection. Because this was they were basically like gangs in Mecca. You know, if your tribe didn't protect you, anything could happen to you, and anything would happen to you. And actually, that was the same thing we were talking about in the story of the prophets. When Lot, when Hud, when Salih, when those people were going against him, not only did they disbelieve, but they said, all right, we're going to leave you by yourself. We're going to let bandits or whoever it is attack you because we're not giving you no more protection. So that's why Allah said, I'm your protection, and I'm going to destroy them, right? So in the same way, when the prophet lost protection from his left protection from his uncle, he was vulnerable out there in those streets, basically, right? So he goes to the city of Taif to get protection. And we all know the story. They embarrassed him. They threw rocks at him. They had children throwing rocks at him. They were mocking him, calling him all kinds of names. They said, some of the rocks that hit him caused him to bleed. And he was bleeding so profusely that his flip-flops, you could hear the sloshes of the blood in his flip-flops when he was walking. That's how profusely he was bleeding. And while he was walking out of the city of Taif, a slave came to his aid, came and bandaged him up and gave him some food. And that slave's name was Addis, Addas. And he gave the prophet some grapes. And before the prophet ate the grapes, what did he do? He said, Bismillah. And Addis said, where you get that from? Nobody else say Bismillah. He said, that's what we say. So he said, I follow Jonah and the people of Nineveh. And the prophet said, that's my brother. I'm a prophet just like him. And he was the only person that accepted Islam. The whole city dissed him, dismissed him, embarrassed him, called him names and everything. This is the only person that believed in him in that whole city, Taif. And it was because of he had learned about the people of Nineveh and from Jonah. He was following the religion of Jonah. And then the prophet came and said Bismillah and said that he's a brother of Jonah. He's teaching the same religion as Jonah. He's like, well, this is a perfect fit, right? So that's one aspect. During the time of the prophet, one person out of the city of Taif became a Muslim. So this other thing is something that I've talked about before, but I think bears repeating. And it has to do with the sign of Jonah. And it has to do with a very, very, very important aspect of Christianity. We'll put this at the top here. The sign of Jonah. Right? So this right here is a very important thing for several reasons. But the main reason is that Jesus said, the people came to him and said, show me a sign, show me a miracle, do something for me. So let me know that you are a real prophet. And he said, I'm going to give you, he said, first of all, he said 4 different things. He said 4 things at different times. In the book of Mark, it said, give us a sign. He said, I will give you no sign at all. I think it's in the Mark chapter 8. So they said, give me a sign. He said, nope, I ain't giving you no sign. He said, y'all wicked and adulterous generation, I'm not giving you a sign. And that was the end of it. He walked up, so I ain't giving you no sign. Then the book of Matthew, because remember, these are biographies of Jesus. Matthew said something different. He said the Pharisees and scribes came to him, and it mentions it in 2 different places. One of them is in Matthew 12. One of them is in Matthew 16. And then the other one is in Luke. I can't remember what chapter it is, maybe 12. So the same people came to him and said, he said, there is no sign. Another instance, I'm gonna say what he said in Luke. In Luke he said, the wicked and adulterous generation come for me. I have one sign, and it is the sign of Jonah. So as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. So he said, this is what y'all get. You get the sign of Jonah. That's your sign. They asked him for a sign to prove he a prophet. He said, the sign you get is the sign of Jonah. Same way Jonah was in the belly of the earth, in the belly of the whale, I'll be in the belly of the earth. That was his sign. And then I think in 16, the same thing happens. They ask him for a sign. They say, you get the sign of Jonah. And listen carefully what he says. He said, a wicked and adulterous generation asked for a sign from me. I only have one sign for you. It is the sign of Jonah. So as Jonah was in the belly of the earth for 3 days, look, so as Jonah was in the belly of the earth, so shall the Son of Man be in the belly of the earth. In this one, they asked him again, he says the sign of Jonah. And then this time he says the time frame. 3 days, 3 nights. So he was asked maybe 4 different times. Only one time did he say 3 days and 3 nights. The other times he just said, however he was, that's how I'm going to be. So I ask you, how was Jonah in the belly of the whale? He said the same way Jonah was in the belly of the whale, so will the Son of Man, meaning himself, be in the belly of the earth, because he called himself Son of Man in the Bible. So Jonah, there's Jesus. So the point of this is, he said no sign, right? Because I want to show you all something. Remember I told you that Allah says that he gave Jesus the gospel, singular. They have 4 gospels. And also the book of John don't mention the sign of Jonah at all. Even though it's the same biography about him, it doesn't mention it at all. So in these gospels, they're called the synoptic gospels because they're very similar. In Mark, he says you ain't getting no sign. Period. Sorry. And this one, he says you get the sign and you get it 3 days and 3 nights. This one, some people ask me, say you just get the sign of Jonah. This one said the sign of Jonah, and he was saying the belly of the whale and the belly of the earth. So he said, the same way Jonah was in the belly of the whale, I'm going to be in the belly of the earth. So how was Jonah in the belly of the whale? How was he? So let me ask you this. When it says sign, right, they mean a miracle. Show me a miracle. Show me something amazing that I will know that you're a prophet, you're the Messiah. So he wants to show them this miracle. And what was Jonah's miracle?
That he was in the belly of the whale.
He was in the belly of the whale, and what happened? Nothing. He didn't die. There's a man who was in Cape Cod, 2019. He was lobster hunting, got swallowed by a whale. The reason I say this is because before that happened, a couple of years before that, a lady was getting swallowed by a whale. Half her body went inside and she was able to get out of it. But before that, people thought maybe he wasn't really in the belly of the whale. Maybe something happened or something. It's impossible for that to be the case. First of all, we know with Allah can perform miracles, but also people have been swallowed by whales. This man was swallowed by a whale, came out the whale. They have him. You can look online right now. He came out of the whale. They had him in the hospital. He had a limp. He was inside of the whale. He said, "This is how I'm going to die, huh?" He said it was hard inside because everything around him was swallowing him up, and then the whale spit him out randomly, right? So the miracle is that Jonah was swallowed by this whale and he survived, right? You know how he survived? You remember I said that Jonah said, "Throw me in the ocean," right? So when they threw him in the ocean, what was he? Was he alive? He was alive, right? Because he said, "Throw me in the ocean." Then when the whale swallowed him, was he alive or dead? How you know he was alive?
He came out alive.
Yeah, but how you know he was alive inside of the belly of the whale? You remember what I said? He prayed to Allah inside the whale.
That's right.
So he was alive.
So he was praying.
He was praying inside of the whale. So he was alive before he went in. He was alive inside. And when he got spit out, he was alive. Right? Alive. In, before, inside, and after. So how would Jesus be like him in the belly of the earth?
He's going to be like him. He's going to be alive, and alive.
He would be alive, which means before he was put into the tomb, he must have been alive. Inside of the tomb, he must have been alive. And when he came out of the tomb, he was still alive. He never died. Right? Right? So when Jesus says, this wicked and adulterous generation asked for one sign, and I'm going to give you only one sign. I'm going to give you the sign of Jonah. He said to them, this prophecy that I'm giving you is telling you I was not crucified, and I can't be crucified. I won't be. Right? This is in the Bible, by the way. This is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, and Luke is from the Bible. So the one prophecy that Jesus said about his death is that he won't be crucified. He said he's going to be alive before you put me in there, in the middle, inside of there, and outside of there. So what is also an issue is this. So first of all, this didn't happen. I mean, there was a sign given. He said there was a sign. So this one, clearly, there was a mistake with Mark when he was writing this down. Right? He was totally wrong because the other ones recorded him saying it. So the sign was the same here. The sign was the same here. And it was in the belly of the earth, alive, and alive. Right? So the next thing happens is the 3 days and 3 nights. And as I told you, of the 4 times that it's mentioned, he only mentions 3 days and 3 nights one time. This is why we can only trust in the Quran. Right? This is why. 3 days and 3 nights. I want y'all to remember that. Is that, according to the Bible, his trial was going on, and they tried him 3 or 4 times in front of 3 or 4 different people. And Pontius Pilate said, I don't see any error in him. Send him to the high priest. The high priest said, I don't see no error in him. I don't see what y'all talking about. I don't think he did anything wrong. But ultimately, they said, look, we want to get rid of him. Pontius Pilate says, there's a man named Barabbas. Barabbas and Jesus. He says they had some kind of ritual where they'll get rid of one person and keep the other one. So they say, between Jesus and Barabbas, which one do y'all want to get rid of? And they say, get rid of Jesus, let Barabbas go free. Barabbas was a murderer, he was a seditionist, a robber, all of this. They said, look, I don't care what he did. You let him go, you keep this person and kill him, right? I'm going to tell y'all something really funny about Barabbas. Is Barabbas, Bar means, in Hebrew, means son of, and Abbas is like Abu, son of the father, is what Barabbas means. And what do Christians call Jesus but son of the Father, son of God? So which one did they really let go? Right? Who knows, right? But that's just one aspect of it. But I just want to give you that little tidbit. So anyway, they said we picked Jesus. So they want to crucify Jesus. They according to the scripture, according to the Bible, they whipped him, they spit on him, they put a robe on him, embarrassed him, they put a thorn on his head, it was bleeding, all of this stuff was happening to him, right? Then they made him carry his own cross. In some gospels, the other one said this guy named Simon of Arimathea carried the cross, but some of them say he carried the cross all the way down there himself. So he's on the cross, literally they said from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So he was literally on the cross for 3 hours. And the reason he was on the cross for 3 hours is because the Sabbath was coming up. And during the Sabbath, the Jewish people can't do any work. So they said, well, look, we got to hurry up and take him down, because the Sabbath is coming. So he got to be taken down. So a crucifixion is supposed to last 2 to 3 days, not 2 to 3 hours. Crucifixion is meant to be a grueling and embarrassing punishment. It's meant to have you on there. You die from asphyxiation. You don't die from your wounds. Because if you get your hand or your wrist stabbed and your feet stabbed, it'll take a very long time for you to die. You won't drain from blood in that way. So it's really from asphyxiation, being on the cross like this, and you have a horn or a harness in between your legs, and you're absolutely naked on there. You know, when you see pictures of the crucifixion, that is a tame example of it. They designed it for you to be embarrassed on there, which means if you're on there for 3 days, also you're using the bathroom on yourself. All of this stuff is happening. And unfortunately, our Christian brothers and sisters think that happened to God. They think the man was up there who was God, and he was being killed and embarrassed in this humiliating way. Now, Jesus, before his arrest, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane crying, begging, pleading to Allah, don't let this happen to me. Because who want to be embarrassed like that, right? And it says the angel strengthened him. And we believe that Allah saved him from this. But he was only on the cross for 3 hours. And when they took him down, they didn't break his limbs. And Pontius Pilate says, how's he dead already? Because he know it take 3 days, not 3 hours. So they took him down because the Sabbath was coming, right? And the Sabbath would be Thursday night. Is that Friday?
No,
Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday night. Friday night. And then he was in there Saturday night. And then Mary Magdalene goes to his tomb, because he's also in a tomb. He's not in a grave like we may think. He's in a tomb that is an open space where you can walk inside of, and you had to pull a rock to open the door for him to get out of. So it was a spacious place for him to be. Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb and he's not there. Right? In the morning, he's gone. And there's an angel inside there. And guess what the angel says to her? The angel says, why are you looking for the dead among the living? He's alive. That's what the angel told Mary Magdalene. And a couple of other Marys that was in there with him. Said he was alive. So, the prophecy said 3 days and 3 nights. This is 1 night, 1 day, another night. This is 1 day and 2 nights. So that prophecy wasn't fulfilled at all either, right? So they are in fact making it whereas Jesus is a false prophet. He had a prophecy that was not fulfilled. If the time frame is the important matter, right? Which it really wasn't. What he was really trying to enunciate to them, explain to them, was the same way Noah was in this belly of this whale, I'm going to be in the belly of the earth. I'm going to be alive this whole time. I won't be resurrected. There's a difference between being alive and being resurrected, right? And this is the huge, huge difference. When someone is resurrected, that means they died and then they came back to life. If you are looking for someone, and when Mary, she's after she left on Sunday, she went to the disciples and said, Jesus is alive. That's what she said to them. She didn't say Jesus is resurrected. You know why she said that? Because they thought he was dead. When you say, hey, no, John, he alive. Yeah, you thought they shot him. No, he's alive. Meaning he did not die. You thought he got killed, he didn't. Resurrected means he did die and he came back to life, right? So when they say this in the Bible, they're not even realizing that you see a big posters. People ride past it, he's alive. Yeah, he is, right? He is. He was alive the whole time. He was never crucified. Allah said they neither killed him nor crucified him, but it was made to appear to them so. So the only sign that Jesus says he's going to give to this wicked and adulterous generation is pointing to the fact that Allah saved him. And there is ample other evidence, but since we were talking about Jonah, I just wanted to mention that the sign of Jonah is proof that Jesus was not crucified in their own scriptures. Any questions? Did I explain this clearly enough? I know I was doing a little bit of stuttering there, but it's so much more to this. So much more to it. But the reason this one is important is because he said, this is the only sign I'm going to give y'all. This is the only proof I'm going to give you. And that proof was that he was not crucified. In the book of John that I didn't mention here, that I didn't highlight because it didn't mention the sign of Jonah, when it's talking about him allegedly being crucified and they're taking him down, they said it was a prophecy that none of his bones will be broken. So what happened generally is this. If you're on the cross, like I said, it's supposed to take 2 to 3 days. If the Sabbath happens to come in and you haven't died yet, because also he was on the cross with 2 other people. They didn't die yet because you don't supposed to die that soon. So they went to him and a soldier said, I think he's dead already. So it says if you are taken down, then you have to get your legs broken, right? And then they let you die that way. So the other 2 people on the cross with him, they put them down and broke their legs. They didn't break his legs. And this was according to a prophecy that was in Psalms. And the Psalm says not only will his legs not be broken, but none of his bones will be broken, and he will be delivered from all harm. All harm would be crucifixion. And it's impossible to be stabbed in your hand or your wrist or your foot without breaking any bones. So the prophecy also is saying that he was never crucified. This is prophecies from their own scripture. This is from the Gospel of John.
You heard the Gospel of Barnabas?
Absolutely.
And it says that when he came to get Jesus, I think it was someone else took on the appearance. Mm-hmm. They thought they had Jesus, but they didn't have him. I'm trying to think who it was that took on the appearance. Judas something.
Judas. So there are different stories whether it was Judas or Simon of Cyrene. Right. That's why when they mentioned that Simon came, I said Simon of Arimathea. That was Joseph of Arimathea. Simon was the person that helped him carry the cross and bring it down, right? In some of the Gospels, because by the way, I told you it's 4 different Gospels. Some of them Simon not in there at all. Some of them Simon helped him walk it halfway. Some of it Simon took him the whole way. Another one says Jesus took it the whole way. Another one says he got whipped, beaten profusely, and in the middle of carrying the cross, he stops and gives a speech. I mean, it's actually preposterous in order for it to occur. It's impossible actually to put all of the pieces together. If you ever watch Mel Gibson, and I don't like supporting this racist man, Mel Gibson's movie The Passion. I watched this movie explicitly because I know the narrative that's in the Bible, and I know that you cannot put all the things together cohesively. Because he whipped them so bad and they did so much stuff to him, they did not put that story in there where he's giving a speech because it would look stupid. Somebody that's broken down, carrying a cross, and then give a speech, it would be impossible to do. So they act like, Mel Gibson act like it didn't happen at all. By the way, during that movie, the actor playing Jesus got struck by lightning 2 or 3 times. Can't make this up. 2 or 3 times he got struck by lightning. Right? Also in that movie, they were using Aramaic. And when they're using Aramaic and Jesus is speaking, he calls Allah, Allah. Because that's what he called Allah in Aramaic. Very, very interesting. So Allah says, no matter how much they try to distinguish the truth, it will never be extinguished. Like, despite whatever they do, it will always have some issues. The truth will always be able to be seen, and if you know what you're looking for. So I watched that movie. It told me a bunch of different things, but the first thing I saw was, whoever this man was, he can't be God. He can't be the creator of the universe. You can't do this, you can't do the creator of the universe in this way. You can't chase him around, catch him, whip God, make him bleed, spit on him, put thorns on him, then put him on a cross and he dies. The creator that created everything, that can't happen to him. If it is, I can't pray to that. That can happen to me. Why would I pray to somebody who got the same powers as I do? And he, the person they're talking about, prayed to the God I'm praying to. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's what he says in this movie. Why have you forsaken me? But yet, Simon was said to be, and Judas, but Judas also died 2 different times in the Bible. So, and neither one of them was crucifixion. So the book of the Gospel of Barnabas says that, but they say the Gospel of Barnabas is a forgery because it also mentions the coming of Muhammad. But either way, so that's why I don't use it, because they'll just say, I don't believe that anyway. So I use what they believe, right? So when I mention Joseph of Arimathea, Joseph and another secret disciple, and the Bible calls him a secret disciple. His name is Nicodemus. Why you got secret disciples, right? It calls him a secret disciple, right? And Joseph was the one saying, let's take him down from the cross. I have a sepulcher where he can go in. Joseph of Arimathea was a rich man. He had property, he had land, and he had a tomb. They were setting this thing up the whole time. It was like, we're gonna bring him here, and he's gonna escape. So what happens is they said they put him in the tomb. This is all from the Bible now, right? Allah just says they need to kill him or crucify him. They put him in the tomb, and they roll the door. Next day, when he comes back, when Mary is looking for him on that Sunday, the door is rolled open. The rock that's at the door is open. And the shroud that goes over his head is taken off, and the wraps around his body is on the floor. Why? Why the door open? He a spirit, right? He can just glide right through the door. Right? Why is his body not there? Right? He a spirit. He should just be gliding wherever he want to go, right? And then to prove it unequivocally, and this is where I was led to when I was a teenager, and this came from my mom. I told you this, I still have the Bible that she highlighted this in. Jesus goes to his disciples, and they said when he sees his disciples, they are frightened. They're terrified of him. And the reason they are terrified of him is because when he got arrested, they all left. They forsook him and fled, is what the Bible says. As soon as he get arrested, they ran off, right? So they think he really got crucified. They weren't there. They don't know what happened. I know Mary said he alive, but I heard he got crucified. So when they see him, they're afraid of him, right? And he says, I'm the same person. I'm the same person. Handle me and see. I'm the human being that's been walking around with y'all this whole time. Come touch me. And they still didn't believe. He said, give me some food. I'm going to eat it right here in front of you. I mean, what more can you say to prove that you're alive, that they didn't kill me? He ate a hamburger and french fries right in their face because he was alive. If he was resurrected, if he was a spirit, what did he need broiled fish and honeycomb for? What is he going to do with it? The same thing that happened with the angels, right? And Abraham. He tried to give him some food. They were like, no, we're not eating this food. What are the angels going to do with food? What is a resurrected being? And Jesus also says in the Bible, when you are resurrected, you are like an angel now, right? So he don't need no food. The reason he ate food is to say, I'm a regular human being. This is all in their own scriptures. If they read it without bias and without people's voices in their ears, they would know that he wasn't crucified. All right, some other. Right? Right?